Chosen one, this message didn't find you by accident. God led you here for a reason. This is not just another word you stumbled upon. This is a divine confirmation. You have been in a season of testing, refinement, and waiting. You wondered at times if you were even going to make it. You questioned whether the storms had a purpose. But today, God wants you to know you've passed the test. And now comes the release. The pain wasn't wasted. The delay wasn't punishment. The tears weren't unseen. You endured. You obeyed. You trusted. And now the heavens have shifted in your favor. Let's break this down into 7 parts so you can understand the depth of what God is doing in your life right now. Before we dive deep, make sure you like, share, and subscribe because this message isn't just content. It's a divine confirmation for the chosen ones. And a heartfelt thank you to everyone who's been supporting through Super Thanks. God bless you richly. Your faith, your presence, and your loyalty do not go unnoticed. To all of you who continually watch, listen, and align, I am truly grateful. If your spirit feels this frequency, type 77 in the comments right now. That number isn't random. It's a sacred signal to the Most High and the universe that you're ready. Ready for the release, ready for the restoration, and ready for the breakthrough that heaven has already signed off on. Not everyone will make it to the end of this message, only those who have truly endured their season of testing. Those who stay will gain clarity, divine confirmation, and prophetic insight about the release that is about to flood their lives. This isn't something you hear once and forget. This is a living word, a spiritual blueprint unfolding piece by piece. Watch it again whenever your spirit leads you, because each time, another layer of divine truth will rise to the surface and remind you, you passed the test, and now comes the release. Let's get started. Chapter 1. The purpose of your tests. Every chosen one must be tested before being trusted with the next level of calling. Tests are not punishments. They are qualifications. Before God elevates you, He proves you. Before He gives you influence, He checks your integrity. Before He places a crown on your head, He allows a cross on your back. Your tests weren't random. They were spiritual assignments designed to refine your heart and prove your faith. You were tested in patience. God allowed delays to see if you would keep trusting Him when nothing seemed to be moving. He allowed you to wait, not because He had forgotten you, but because waiting reveals whether your hope is in Him or in the outcome. Patience is not passive, it is active trust. Every time you chose to keep believing in the silence, heaven took note. You were tested in loyalty. People came and left, doors opened and closed, and you had opportunities to compromise, to chase shortcuts, to bow to the pressure of the crowd. Yet, when it mattered most, you chose God. Loyalty is proven not when it's easy to stand, but when it costs something. Your wilderness exposed who and what you were truly loyal to. You were tested in faith. There were seasons when nothing made sense, when prayers seemed unanswered, and when the weight of life tried to crush your spirit. Still, you lifted your head. Still, you whispered prayers. Still, you believed God's word even when your eyes saw no evidence. Faith is not faith until it is stretched. And through your trials, your faith has been stretched, purified, and made unshakable. You were tested in endurance. Many started the race with you, but not everyone remained. The chosen are not only marked by their calling, but also by their endurance. God wanted to see if you would keep walking when the road grew long, if you would keep running when your strength was gone, if you would keep standing when everything around you told you to fall. Endurance is what separates the called from the chosen. The wilderness season was never about destroying you. It was about purifying you. Fire does not destroy gold, it refines it. Pressure does not break diamonds, it shapes them. In the same way, your trials were not meant to kill you, but to bring out the purity of your character, the strength of your faith, and the depth of your obedience. Think back to the trials you have faced. Every betrayal was a test of your forgiveness. Every rejection was a test of your identity. Would you crumble when others walked away, or would you remember who you are in God? Every delay was a test of your patience. Every silent season was a test of your endurance and trust. The pain was real, but so was the purpose. Each test was shaping you, carving you, preparing you for the weight of your destiny. God does not promote without testing. He does not entrust great responsibility to those who have not been proven in the small things. Just as a soldier is trained before the battle, just as a student is examined before graduation, the chosen one must be tested before elevation. Your tests were proof that heaven was preparing you for something bigger. Chosen one, you have proven yourself faithful when it mattered most. When you could have given up, you pressed on. When you could have compromised, you stood firm. When you could have complained, you prayed. Watch it again whenever your spirit leads you, because each time another layer of divine truth will rise to the surface and remind you passed the test. And now comes the release. Let's get started. Chapter 1. The purpose of your tests. Every chosen one must be tested before being trusted with the next level of calling. Tests are not punishments. They are qualifications. Before God elevates you, He proves you. Before He gives you influence, He checks your integrity. Before He places a crown on your head, He allows a cross on your back. Your tests weren't random. They were spiritual assignments designed to refine your heart and prove your faith. You were tested in patience. God allowed delays to see if you would keep trusting Him when nothing seemed to be moving. He allowed you to wait, not because He had forgotten you, but because waiting reveals whether your hope is in Him or in the outcome. Patience is not passive. It is active trust. Every time you chose to keep believing in the silence, heaven took note. You were tested in loyalty. People came and left. Doors opened and closed. And you had opportunities to compromise, to chase shortcuts, to bow to the pressure of the crowd. Yet, when it mattered most, you chose God. Loyalty is proven not when it's easy to stand, but when it costs something. Your wilderness exposed who and what you were truly loyal to. You were tested in faith. There were seasons when nothing made sense, when prayers seemed unanswered, and when the weight of life tried to crush your spirit. Still, you lifted your head. Still, you whispered prayers. Still, you believed God's word, even when your eyes saw no evidence. Faith is not faith until it is stretched. And through your trials, your faith has been stretched, purified, and made unshakable. You were tested in endurance. Many started the race with you, but not everyone remained. The chosen are not only marked by their calling, but also by their endurance. God wanted to see if you would keep walking when the road grew long, if you would keep running when your strength was gone, if you would keep standing when everything around you told you to fall. Endurance is what separates the called from the chosen. The wilderness season was never about destroying you. It was about purifying you. Fire does not destroy gold. It refines it. Pressure does not break diamonds. It shapes them. In the same way, your trials were not meant to kill you, but to bring out the purity of your character, the strength of your faith, and the depth of your obedience. Think back to the trials you have faced. Every betrayal was a test of your forgiveness. Every rejection was a test of your identity. Would you crumble when others walked away? Or would you remember who you are in God? Every delay was a test of your patience. Every silent season was a test of your endurance and trust. The pain was real, but so was the purpose. Each test was shaping you, carving you, preparing you for the weight of your destiny. God does not promote without testing. He does not entrust great responsibility to those who have not been proven in the small things. Just as a soldier is trained before the battle, just as a student is examined before graduation, the chosen one must be tested before elevation. Your tests were proof that heaven was preparing you for something bigger. Chosen one, you have proven yourself faithful when it mattered most. When you could have given up, you pressed on. When you could have compromised, you stood firm. When you could have complained, you prayed. Your tears were not wasted. Your pain was not wasted. Your lonely nights, your unanswered questions, your hidden sacrifices, all of it has been recorded by heaven. Chapter 2. How you passed without even realizing it. Sometimes you don't even know you've passed until God announces the release. The test didn't come with instructions. The exam didn't come with the teacher sitting beside you saying, "This part counts, this doesn't." Instead, you were thrown into seasons that felt like confusion, and you were asked to trust when you didn't understand. You thought you were failing because the weight was so heavy. You thought you were weak because you cried in secret. You thought your mistakes disqualified you. But what you didn't realize is that your very endurance, your obedience in the small hidden moments, your refusal to compromise when it mattered most. The enemy wanted you to believe that your tears were proof of failure, but heaven saw them as proof of your faith. Every time you prayed when you wanted to quit, you passed. Every time you chose forgiveness over bitterness, you passed. Every time you remained loyal to God, even when it didn't make sense, you passed. The enemy tried everything to trick you into giving up. He whispered lies to convince you that you were forgotten. He tried to magnify your failures so you would believe you weren't worthy. He tried to exhaust you so badly that quitting looked easier than standing. And yet, despite the pressure, you didn't give in. You may have stumbled, but you didn't stay down. You may have broken, but you didn't abandon your faith. You may have been tired, but you stayed faithful. That alone was enough to show heaven that you were ready. You didn't realize that every small act of obedience was being recorded. Choosing to pray when no one else saw, refusing to take shortcuts when the long road was harder, remaining patient when you could have forced things to happen your own way, staying silent when your flesh wanted to fight back. These hidden decisions became your answers on the test. You thought no one noticed, but heaven noticed. The angels saw, God saw, and now the verdict is in: you passed. Think back for a moment. How many times did you keep walking even when your legs felt heavy? How many times did you keep believing, even when your hope felt thin? How many times did you forgive even when your heart was breaking? All of those were victories you didn't even recognize. You didn't need to be perfect. You just needed to remain faithful. And you did. Passing wasn't about never falling. It was about never quitting. Passing wasn't about having all the answers. It was about holding on to the one who does. You passed because you trusted when everything in you wanted to doubt. You passed because you stayed when it would have been easier to run. You passed because deep down you never let go of God. And now heaven is announcing what you could not see in the moment. You passed. You endured the wilderness. You withstood the silence. You carried the weight without breaking. You stood through the rejection, through the betrayal, through the loneliness. Chapter 3, the shift in the spirit realm. Chosen one, now comes the release. What you are stepping into is not imagination, not empty motivation, but a real spiritual shift. Something has moved in the unseen, and the effects are about to show in the natural. What was locked up is being loosed. What was delayed is being delivered. What was withheld is being released into your hands. For so long it felt like the heavens were silent, like your prayers were bouncing back without answers. You wondered if you were forgotten, if you were overlooked, if your sacrifices were in vain. But what you didn't see was that the spirit realm was heavy with activity. Every tear, every prayer, every act of obedience was accumulating weight before God. And now the scales have tipped. Now the decree has been spoken. Now the release has been set in motion. Your obedience has unlocked doors in the spirit realm that no man can shut. The enemy fought hard to keep those doors sealed, but your endurance broke his grip. Heaven has issued a decree in your favor, and when heaven speaks, no force of hell can overturn it. What God has opened, no man can close. What God has released, no enemy can snatch away. When you passed the test, you triggered a divine chain reaction. You may not have realized it, but the moment you chose to stand when everything told you to fall, heaven responded. The moment you trusted God instead of giving up, angels were dispatched. The moment you forgave when you could have retaliated, blessings were aligned in your path. One act of obedience in the natural set off waves of movement in the spiritual. Angels are already moving on your behalf. Assignments have already been activated in the heavenly courts. People you have not yet met are being positioned. Doors you have not yet seen are being prepared to open. Resources you never prayed for are being gathered. Opportunities you thought you missed are circling back. This time is God's perfect timing. What once felt like delay was only preparation. God was aligning the right people, the right timing, the right circumstances, so that when your release came, it would be undeniable. It wouldn't just look like coincidence. It would be clear that the hand of God was on it. Heaven has orchestrated this moment so that when you rise, it will not be by accident, but by divine appointment. This is the shift you've been sensing in your spirit, that restlessness you felt, that stirring inside you. It wasn't random. It was the atmosphere around you beginning to change. The ground beneath you is different now. The resistance you felt for so long has broken. The barriers have been lifted. The chains have fallen. Now comes the release. Chosen one, believe this truth. You are not waiting for breakthrough. It has already begun. The release is unfolding. The answers are arriving, and the blessings are manifesting. Walk with confidence because heaven has moved on your behalf. What once seemed impossible is now inevitable. Chapter 5. The signs that your release is here. Chosen one, if you look with spiritual eyes, you will notice that things around you are already shifting. What once felt like a sealed tomb is now rattling with life. Doors that refused to open for years are now creaking on their hinges. Conversations that used to lead nowhere are suddenly producing opportunities. People who once dismissed you or treated you as though you were invisible are now pausing, noticing, and even speaking your name in rooms you've never entered. These are not coincidences. These are signs that the release has begun. The Spirit of God always gives signals before manifestation. You may have noticed that your dreams are becoming more vivid, more frequent, and more symbolic. They are no longer random images. They are carrying messages, warnings, and confirmations. Perhaps you dreamed of open doors, or of traveling, or of light breaking through darkness. These dreams are not your imagination. They are heaven's announcements. They are God's way of whispering, "Pay attention. Your season is changing." It's not only in dreams, but in your spirit. Where once you felt heaviness, you now sense a strange peace that cannot be explained by your circumstances. The storm may not be completely gone, but inside of you there is calm. That peace is the evidence of release. It is the Spirit saying, "Be still." It is already done. Strength is also rising within you. The weariness that weighed on your soul for months or even years is lifting. You are regaining focus, regaining hunger, regaining passion. Things that used to drain you now inspire you. Your hands no longer feel idle. They feel ready. Your voice no longer feels silenced. It feels bold. That inner strength is a sign that God is pouring fresh oil on you for the next stage. And look at the clarity that is forming in your mind. Where confusion once reigned, where every decision felt like a gamble, suddenly you are seeing things clearly. You know which paths to avoid. You can discern who is truly for you and who is against you. You no longer feel desperate to force things to happen, because you now recognize what is worth your energy and what is not. That clarity is God's way of confirming that you are stepping into alignment. The external signs are also undeniable. Opportunities that once seemed impossible are now coming toward you. Delays that dragged for years are now breaking quickly. Connections that were lost are being restored. Unexpected favor is showing up in ways you could not have arranged on your own. You are finding yourself in the right place at the right time with the right words. That is divine orchestration. Even the resistance you may still feel is a sign. The enemy always fights hardest when he knows the release is near. The warfare increases at the edge of breakthrough because the enemy cannot stop what God has decreed. He can only try to distract you or make you doubt it. But take comfort. The shaking around you is not evidence of failure but of birth. These are labor pains. These are the contractions of destiny pushing you into the new. Chosen one, heaven is signaling loudly. It's time. Time for you to rise. Time for you to step into the fullness of who you are. Time for the chains that bound you to fall off. Time for the world to see what God hid in you during the waiting season. Chapter 6. What to expect in this new season. Chosen one, now that the release has come, prepare your heart, because everything is about to change. You are not stepping into an ordinary chapter of life. You are entering a divine season, one that has been written in heaven long before you ever walked on this earth. This is the moment when the years of waiting, weeping, and wrestling finally give way to acceleration, restoration, and manifestation. Expect acceleration. What once took years will now happen in months. What once took months will now unfold in weeks. Things that used to drag, stall, or frustrate you will now move with unusual speed. Delays are breaking, doors are opening quickly, and opportunities will line up faster than you can explain. God is redeeming the time you thought was lost. He is collapsing timelines to show you that nothing was wasted. The years of slow movement were not in vain. They were only preparation. Now the season of divine speed has arrived. Expect divine connections. People you never thought would notice you will suddenly see you. Voices you never had access to will call your name. Helpers, mentors, partners, and supporters will appear out of nowhere, drawn by the hand of God. These are not ordinary relationships. They are destiny alignments. The ones God is sending will not drain you. They will strengthen you. They will not compete with you. They will complement you. They will not pull you backward. They will push you forward. Some of these connections will feel like you have known them all your life, because heaven ordained them before you were born. Expect restoration. What the enemy stole, God is returning multiplied. The time you thought was wasted will come back in harvest form. The resources you lost will return greater. The relationships that were torn from you unjustly will be replaced with better ones. The opportunities you missed will be brought back around, this time in a higher measure. Restoration is not about getting back what you had. It's about receiving more than you ever imagined. God's restoration always comes pressed down, shaken together, and running over. This new season is not about striving. It is about receiving. You don't have to force open any doors, because the doors have already been commanded to open. You don't have to chase opportunities, because opportunities will find you. You don't have to beg for provision, because provision is attached to your assignment. Your only responsibility is to remain aligned with God, to walk in obedience, and to keep your heart pure. The rest will flow to you naturally, because the favor of God is going before you. Expect favor. Doors will open not because of who you know, but because of who knows you. Influence will increase not because of human effort, but because heaven has stamped approval on your life. Provision will flow not because you manipulated it, but because God has declared it is time. Peace will cover you like a shield, and even in the middle of noise and chaos, you will walk with a calm spirit. Chosen one, in this new season, your hands will no longer be empty. Your heart will no longer feel forgotten. Your spirit will no longer be weighed down by delay. You're about to walk in favor, influence, provision, and peace like never before. And it will all happen in such a way that you will know without a doubt it was God and God alone who made it possible. Chapter 7. How to walk in your release with humility. Chosen one, now that God is releasing what He promised, guard your heart carefully. This is the season you have prayed for, cried for, and endured for. But it is also the season where your posture matters most. Many can survive the wilderness, but few can handle success without forgetting who sustained them in the dark. Humility is your shield, and gratitude is your anchor. Stay humble. Do not let the blessings, the recognition, or the favor blind you to the truth. It was never your strength, your wisdom, or your connections that brought you here. It was the hand of God. Remember the long nights when no one saw you. Remember the prayers whispered in pain. Remember the doors that shut in your face, the betrayals you endured, and the loneliness that almost crushed you. The wilderness was not wasted. It was shaping you, refining you, and teaching you dependence. If you forget the wilderness, you risk losing the very character that qualified you for the release. Understand this. The release is not just for you. It is for generations. What God is placing in your hands carries generational weight. It is meant to bless others, to break cycles, to establish new legacies, to advance His kingdom, and to glorify His name. If you think the blessing is only for your comfort, you will miss its true purpose. God has trusted you with influence so you can lift others. He has trusted you with provision so you can build and sow. He has trusted you with visibility so you can shine light not on yourself but on Him. Chosen one, never forget, you didn't make it here by chance, by luck, or by coincidence. You made it here by obedience, by grace, and by faith. It was your obedience in the small things when no one was watching that moved heaven. It was God's grace covering your weaknesses that kept you from falling. It was your faith, holding on even when everything in you wanted to let go, that carried you through. You passed the test not because you were perfect, but because you refused to quit. And now heaven has opened the floodgates. Blessings will pour, opportunities will multiply, and favor will surround you.